I'm Gerald Bentley. This is Wrestling with Sales. Today, we're not talking with an athlete. We're not talking to one of the pro wrestlers or a personal trainer. We're talking to somebody who can give you a look basically into the mirror of why customers maybe leave the dealerships, why they don't trust you. Talking to Jay Grosman of iAuto Agent. They're a company that works as, he says, as a real estate agent for your car. They actually work as a buyer's agent, helping the buyer find the car they're looking for and help them out as a seller's agent to sell their car, which is a way that they could actually help you out a little bit as a dealership too. But it's an interesting look because the tendency is, and it's good, right? People at dealerships have to feel confident. They have to feel they're great at what they do, because otherwise you'll get bludgeoned by the failure percentage. But you also can't just refuse to take a look at the mirror and see if you're doing something wrong that's making you lose. Jay, thanks a lot for joining me today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Mr. Gerald. And I don't know if you
Yeah.
realize, but I am an athlete.
No, I didn't.
He's like, well.
No, we talked a bunch. We were on a board together, but no, I didn't know that. What kind?
Oh, I'm just joking with you. I play a lot of sports.
Okay.
That was back in the day. Now I'm 50 years old, so.
No, well, same with me.
There you
I've got
go.
my boxing thing behind me, exercise bike, weight machine, but that's just to be able to function.
I love
But
sports, though.
you know, and I think with the reason for the title of the show, I think with sales, if you get too far away from it's a win-loss, it's a game, it's a contest, I think you lose, because you start losing the excitement, you start losing the drive, because you have to raise your level, you have to be able to meet the customer where they're at and see it to its conclusion. If you just get so tied up in analytics and just everything's a number, you'll end up losing because you get so cold and calculating. People don't want to deal with you.
That's exactly
And
right. Yeah, I spent
what do
18.
you think? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I do. I think you're right. I spent 18 years in the dealership world before I started this, and I felt like a doctor coming out of an unsuccessful surgery, having to tell my clients what their cars were worth. And
Yeah.
everybody knows the game, Gerald. They know the game. The game is you pull up, you meet the salesperson, you sit in the office, you wait for them to pull the car around if they can find the keys. If they can't find the keys, then it's really even more fun. Then after you
Hmm.
come back to the test drive, then they want you to, make a decision. And then, it's the whole back and forth thing. And then that's just the front end of the deal. The back end of the deal is what people hate the most.
Yeah. Going in with the finance professionals.
Yeah, Guido's brother that sits in there in that finance office and the, you know, smile on their face. They know that that's it. That's probably the worst part of it, because I think some dealerships have gotten way better at the front end of the deal, much better at it, because dealers have gone to like the one pricing system for the used cars, so that helps, and then they give them the value on the trade. There isn't a lot of back and forth anymore as such, but one of the things was so frustrating for me is how long it takes for these finance people to load the deal, and we know what that means. And when they
Hmm.
load the deal, they're sitting around. They're like, I want to pay cash, or I've already got my own financing. It doesn't matter. They're building this menu, and we all know what the menu is. The menu is, we have four different options here. You can have this one, and it has the warranty. But if you have this one, it has the warranty in the dent room. It's like, I don't want it. And then they have to keep pushing you to doing it because they're not making enough money on the front end of the deal, so they have to worry about the back end of the deal. And if they don't get the back end of the deal, they're going to be hurting.
Do you think that's really what's driving people away? Because you're absolutely right. That has been the model. Nissan dealerships. Now, it's not true right now, obviously, because the last couple of years with COVID shortages. But going back to 2018, the average Nissan dealer made half of financial reserve on the car. So for people watching this that, work in dealerships, you know what that means. There's MSRP, then you go down to invoice. Below invoice is holdback. And that's usually the line where the dealers are going to say, okay, hey, we're not going below this. However, the average Nissan dealership went into the next pool, which is financial reserve. That's the 3 months of interest to cover the interest payments on the cars you're buying. They were only making half of that on the front end of their cars. So they were totally counting on bonuses from the manufacturer and finance. So if you went to a Nissan dealership, what do you think your finance experience was? It was going to be brutal because they were trying to make $1,600 at least of profit in finance to just pull them up to a bad job on the car. It made no sense, but that's what they were doing, and that's what a lot of domestics did too. A lot of domestics were cutting down to their SFE, their sales effectiveness bonus price. Okay, hey, we're going to make the $1,000 back on sales effectiveness, and then we'll throw it to finance and get what we can. Have you noticed? I mean, is that where a lot of your customers come from because they just don't want to do that?
Yeah, I'll tell you a story. We have a vehicle finder program at iAuto agents nationwide. And we had this whole deal set up. It was actually on a new Volkswagen Atlas. So pretty expensive. I'm sorry, Tiguan, excuse me. Very expensive car. And we had everything all set up. It was very rare that we were even able to get the car. And we let our clients know, if you don't want these products, you just let them know when you get there that you don't want them. And this was one of our dealerships. I'm not even going to say the name, but it's the largest dealership group in St. Louis. They got into the finance office, and I knew who this guy was. I worked with him before I got out of the business. I spent 18 years doing this, and this is a guy that I did not trust as far as I could throw him, and I knew that they would get this guy. And they sit down, and he starts saying, well, we got this warranty, this and this, and they're like, well, we don't want it. And he wouldn't stop. And they're like, well, we don't want it. And they're just trying to be nice. And then he wouldn't stop. And he's like, well, why? They literally stood up. So my client stood up and yelled at the finance manager, stood up and yelled and says, if you ask me one more time, I am going to come unglued. And then I get to hear the feedback on my end, because once we send our clients to that dealership, we have no control. We act as their lifeline while they're there, but if they don't call us, we can't get involved. And we didn't get a call or anything. He was so pissed off at this guy. And then listen to this. I got a good one for you. So this dealership usually pays us a referral just to send them business, as most dealerships do. So we were wondering where our referral was. And we talked, like, the general manager literally said to the manager, because we coach our clients, they are not going to pay us a referral because of that situation. And I'm like, really? That's how we're going to play it? I'm telling you, Gerald, that's the problem right there.
Now, to be fair, I do think people should buy the extended warranties. And here's why. There's so many electronics in cars. I just spent an hour on the phone with a master certified technician at another brand, trying to walk through where the switch was that controlled backup sensors on a truck. And it is 44 different wires, 4 different connectors, and the connector that was bad is under the subframe behind the passenger door. If you think you can fix that yourself, you're crazy. You never can. It's impossible. And there's no way I could. I was just looking it up and I was reading the map. But the reality is, if you can get an extended warranty on a car and you get it for like $2,000 on an import, they're a little bit cheaper on a domestic car. They're maybe up to $3,000 or $3,500. If you're going to keep the car a long time, you get a 100,000 mile warranty for that. It's worth it. because the average internal repair on a car now is about 2,500, and those are going up. If you buy the extended warranty, you're hedging against inflation, and you have that. And you know what? Say you trade the car in 3 years, you decide it wasn't the right car, they're prorated. You get a portion of the money back anyways. It's just an insurance. But I think in a lot of places, a lot of dealerships, they don't present it that way. They present it as oh, hey, you need to get this. You need to get it. There's not a question. There's not an answer. They're not breaking down the person's driving habits. They're not explaining it in a way that builds value. They're just showing, oh, hey, you need this. And the customer's thinking, well, I already got a warranty. I don't want another warranty.
I agree.
Do you think that's a lot of it?
So I agree 100%. So I am probably the biggest proponent of warranties, but not at 400% markup. And they were absolutely annihilating them. So one of the things that we do too, Gerald, is we actually have the warranties that we provide to our clients. So we actually do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we provide warranties to our clients at pennies on the dollar compared to what the dealer is charging them. And, the dealers don't like that. And that's fine. We sold them a car, and, I just have a mantra. I don't think profit's a bad word. I think unfair is. And that's all that's dealers are in business to make a profit. I get it. But this deal, what they do at this place, it's not just the warranty, it's the tire and the wheel and the paint and the, window etching and all the crap that we all know isn't worth shit. I think that the warranty should be bought on every car.
Yeah. The single worst thing I've seen at dealerships, virtually a lot of brands now, if you're looking at a Hyundai, at a Kia, they have their connection services. Hyundai calls it Blue Link. GM obviously has OnStar. Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram has Uconnect. Those services have 24-hour call centers that if your car gets stolen, you call them up and they will shut the car down in seconds with the police report number. You get the police report number, you call them up, say, hey, this car is stolen. Here's a police report number. They'll shut it down as soon as that car is at a position where they're slowing down or hit the brake. Automatically done. And then they'll tell you exactly where that car is. There's dealerships, though, that sell those brands that also sell something called Skylink. And you're at dealerships long enough, you remember Skylink. It's the ultimate anti-theft device, right? And it plugs into the code reader underneath the steering wheel. Skylink cost, I don't know, probably cost the dealerships like $120. And most dealerships charge $9.95 for it. It's utterly worthless. Do you think? And now, granted, there's not exactly criminal geniuses, but do you really think something that's plugged into the code reader is going to be impossible to beat? You don't think somebody just looks and goes, oh, hey, it's Skylink. Pitch it out the window. And Skylink doesn't stop the car. It just, in theory, would give you the location of the car, assuming the person who stole the car is dumb enough to not throw it out the window. But even if they are, you already have OnStar in the car. Why in the world would you ever buy it? But the dealership sell it because, hey, man, we made $900 and all you have to do is plug it in. Okay. So that's bad. That's, setting on a just too dishonest of a position. So if you're a dealership watching this and you do that, really think about it. There's better ways to do it. There's better ways. Be honest, build your value, ask questions, and show the customer something that really benefits them. Benefits them, benefits you. It's a win-win relationship. There's ways to do it, You can walk a customer back, and if they say, I don't need a warranty, just walk them around your service department. Show them how big your garage is and say something like, well, hey, there's a reason why the service department does maybe 100 times the number of transactions the sales department does in a month. And there's a reason why the service department is 3 times bigger than the sales department. And it's not because they never break.
That's a great...
They need service.
That's a great...
Things you can say that are Yeah, 100% true. And it's relatable. People would understand that, and
Yeah.
instead of trying to sell Skylink, it
Yep.
just doesn't
I
work.
think that they should have somebody dedicated to that at the dealership that does that. So they're not just sitting around. Like, one of the things that people hate to do is like, what am I waiting for? What am I waiting for? Well, you're in line to
Yeah,
go see the finance manager or the business manager. And it's like, well, well, why do I have to wait? It's like, well, they've got people in front of you. Well, how many, you don't want to hear that. So
yeah,
get somebody that you're paying, 10, 12, 15 bucks an hour. Say, I'm gonna introduce you to Mary, and Mary's gonna give you a tour of the service department while we're waiting to hear for while we're waiting here, and boom. And then she could be trained to, like, hey, this is what we see. And it just, like, that's a great idea. That's a
yeah, that's a good
great
idea.
one. Yeah.
All right. And
Nobody wanted
you
to
know,
listen to my ideas when I was in the car business, though.
I think that just that dynamic is something that really, I mean, if you want to talk about win lose, that's something that let CarMax and Carvana come in and eat up market share.
Yeah.
Now, now you know, the glass house is taking some bricks with Carvana. They're kind of falling apart, but their growth was largely driven by bad experiences at dealerships
Hmm.
because they were selling cars without reconditioning for more money with less conversation than local dealers who would actually stand behind it. So that's a wake up call. I mean, here in the spirit of the theme, you lost the belt. That was a 1, 2, 3. Carvana pinned a lot of dealerships, and it's largely because just took the eyes off the ball, let them in, Just didn't try hard enough, didn't push hard enough for the win. Because when you take a look at it from a dealership's perspective, you go, man, why is anybody buying from these guys? This makes no sense. But they were, I think, the number 3 used car dealer in the country last year. So they sold a ton of cars despite all the bad things.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, one of the things that dealers always are all about is the now program. They don't think about the relationship, they don't think about anything else, and they are so close-minded. That's one of the reasons why I started this company, is because I had all these ideas and I'm like, well, if we just did this, like, we could make people happy, kind of exactly what you do, except I
Yeah.
just decided to go start a company that, was completely, like, never been done before. I made it really difficult on myself. And now I play in the sandbox with the dealers, because now the dealers are like, ooh, can we work with your customer? Can we work with your customer? And it's like,
Uh-huh.
I don't know. Like, how are you going to treat them when we bring them into you?
Now, have you had a lot of repeat business? Do you have a lot of families that come back to you,
Oh
able to
yeah,
build relationships?
it's really starting to happen. We're 8 years into this now. So iAuto agent
Oh,
started.
that's great.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like, we have people that just, they'll just call us and, like, hey, we want you to sell another car for us again. And the vehicle finder program has really, really taken off nationwide, because exactly what you said is, and you brought me on, and you're like, what do people don't like about going to the dealership? And it's just, it's the waiting game. It's just, they sit around. And at the end of the day, when we interview our clients and we said, what's the greatest value that we provided to you in this service, of the vehicle finder program, and they said, confidence of purchase. And
Okay.
that is the main theme that we get, because they're like, when we go in, we don't know, like, if we're getting a good deal. We don't know the right questions to ask. We don't know, like, how to do this. And the reason why you don't know is because there's so much crap online that is so, like, outdated. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
So we just navigate it for the people. And I'm like, yeah, if you're going to navigate it for me, and you can get everything all set up where all I have to do is just go in and drive the car and make sure I like it, and then I can just leave in the car, then where do I sign up?
No, it's great. Hey, do you ever ship cars from other areas of the country in
Oh
for
yeah,
people?
all across the country. We have shipping companies. I mean, we have the whole like suite of services. Whatever they need, they want to do an independent mechanical inspection. We'll help them with that. We'll help them with shipping. We'll help them with financing. We'll help them with warranties. Anything that you need, we will help them with.
Well, in that spirit, then, Jay and
Mm.
auto dealers, do you know where your vehicles are and when they'll arrive? Hey, I know the inventory management challenges dealers are facing right now, so I'm certain the answer is a resounding no. But with Montway Auto Transport, they can change your answer to a confident yes with the Montway Automation Portal, better known as MAP. MAP offers you a smarter way to move and manage orders while giving you end to end visibility of all inbound and outbound units. You can upload VINs, get pricing, dispatch the orders, and track every unit on the dashboard right on your computer. Leveraging MAP can save you time and money and get vehicles to your lots quicker to sell, or in your case, to your customers quicker. With MAP, you can book, track, manage your inventory from one revolutionary platform. You can see MAP in action at www.montway.com/map. You can write it down or just look up in the corner of the screen. It's www.montway.com/map and put your dealership on the map. Our friends at Montway Auto Transport. But
Wow, you need to
yeah,
introduce
all
me
in
to
one.
them. I want to know.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
we,
there it is. It's
you need to make
it's
a
right there. It's
connection
right
with
at the
Vermont
yeah,
Way Auto Transport.
right right there it is, right at the top. There
I
you go.
see it.
Yeah. But yeah, so you're seeing a lot of shipping and people are getting cars across the country. And you said there's a lot of bad information out there. There's still dealerships that will post, which it amazes me that they do this, but there's dealerships that'll post prices showing every possible conceivable rebate, get the person to come in from an internet lead, and then when they get to the dealership, no fault of the sales managers because they don't know. They're starting at sticker and standard APR. And what do you think you just did to the customer? Some people will go, oh, well, okay, it's just what it is because they have
Mhm.
low expectations. People that came in with high expectations, they're disgusted. And
It's
now
not gonna
maybe you sell them a car, maybe you shove a deal down the road, but it's not a happy customer. It's not a customer who's probably going to keep coming back.
no.
So hopefully, maybe the inventory shortage kind of gets rid of that thinking because the last couple of years it has been back to more like when you and I started, where okay, here's a list. This is what we have to sell, and you can get this one, and more conversation, more trying to figure out what somebody's looking for. But I do think there's going to be a huge area for your company, iAuto Agent, because we got another year of very short inventory and a huge lack of used cars.
Yeah.
Are you still seeing people trying to find cars for waiting for months?
You know, we've actually moved a lot away from the new cars just because of what's going on and encouraging people to look at used cars, and it's worked out
Uh
really
huh.
well. I'm seeing here in St. Louis, they're starting to trickle in here a little bit. That they are, and it's not as bad as it was, and I see it getting better. I do, but I don't see it anywhere near where it needs to be. And I think we're at least past this year to even come back to normal or close to normal. But I do think
Yeah.
because of what's happening in used cars right now with a lot of repossessions, Carvana liquidating their inventory, I think Vroom will probably go out of business as well. I think it's going to shoot a lot of vehicles into the market. It's going to flood the market with used vehicles. I think what's also going to happen is the new cars will start coming in, and they're not going to sell as fast because the disparity between a used car and a new car will be much larger now.
Hmm.
That's just kind of what I'm seeing in my in my vision of what's going to happen, but nobody really knows.
Yeah, well, and you don't have 0% interest rate,
No.
except maybe on. And if somebody is doing a 0% interest rate, you're going to have to ask, hey,
Yeah. What's
why? Because they must really, really, really want to sell that car, because that's a
hmm
big incentive right now. Is
hmm
about the best rate you're going to get with most credit unions, even at 36 months now, is 4.9. So
Yeah. Four
there's
nine is what we have.
definitely a little effect from the APRs.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we're going to see people migrating more to the lower price cars more than ever moving forward because people still need cars.
Yeah.
And they're just not going to go out and spending unless you find the top 1% that and then they can buy whatever they want. So it's just going to be an interesting 2023. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen, but I do believe that the supply is going to increase on the used cars, especially on the
Hmm.
more expensive ones. I think it'll move people more into the used cars, but as long as the interest rates don't continue to keep creeping higher, that's what I'm
Yeah.
concerned about.
Hopefully they kind of stick where they
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
Now, just as we're winding down here, you can absolutely subscribe to Wrestling with Sales with Gerald Bentley on YouTube. You can check out new episodes every Wednesday. The subscriptions and the likes definitely help. And by all means, you can go check out MontwayAutoTransport.com and dig into a little bit of their shipping. And if you're a dealership, they actually just made a big deal with an auction transport company. So if you're buying truckloads from the auction, they can help you with that too. But just kind of winding down, Jay, I wanted to ask you, what would you say is the biggest piece of advice you would give to a sales manager at a dealership to keep people from leaving and leaving upset?
Just tighten up your processes, know where your cars are, like have some type of a system where the cars are at so they know where the inventory is. And like I think that I shouldn't say they should hire more finance people, but I see a very, very, very skeleton staff of finance people. But they're also these guys are making $300,000 to $500,000 a year, which I can understand why they don't want to hire more. It has
Yeah,
to be. I think it just has to be more streamlined for the client when they come in, and it's just that waiting game. And if somebody doesn't want to buy something, don't continue to keep putting pressure on them. But like you said, and like I said, if you do some proactive things by hiring somebody that's maybe $10 to $15 an hour to do the walk around the service department, to set them up, to plant the seed for for the finance person, there won't be as much of a head butting, before you do it. And I don't think it should be the salesperson doing the the tour because the salesperson should be selling cars, not being a tour guide. That's my
that's fair. Yeah, and time is your enemy. So the more time it takes, usually the less money you make as a
yeah.
dealership.
That's bottom line.
Great. Well, hey, speaking of time, thanks for giving us some time today. Thanks for joining me today on Wrestling with Sales. And you can check out the Auto Authorities podcast as well. You can search for that on YouTube, and it comes out every Tuesday on Facebook, right?
That is exactly right. Tuesday at 12 p.m. Central Time on the Facebook group page called the Auto Authorities Podcast.
Awesome. Hey, thanks a lot, Jay. Have a great week. I'm sure we'll be talking again.
Thanks for having me.
Sure.